Hello, friends, and welcome back to another episode of Dusty Tunnel digging holes with Dusty Tunnel. Sorry, I'm a little bit tired and emotionally and mentally. And I'm whispering a little bit because I don't want to wake my roommates up while I record this. Just a lot of you probably already know just from social media, but my dog passed away last Thursday, and it's been tough. Actually, it's been tougher than I anticipated, but I'm hanging in there, and I'm glad to have spent some time with her and given her a home, and and I've just been tired because it's hard to go a few years with this incredibly loud snoring next to you every night. And then, now it's just quiet. I don't have that white noise next to me, So, if there's anybody with sleep apnea that would like to sleep in a dog bed for a week or two so that I can get some rest, go ahead and give me a call. Hit me up on my website. Shoot me a message. That's what's going on in my life. As far as comedy, I've been doing a lot more writing, and I've been trying to hit open mics a little bit harder, and try and meet some more people and get out and do some shows. I don't really have an excuse now, I oftentimes would try and get home to the dog and make sure to take care of her and that kind of thing. And I've got a lot of free time now, so I'm gonna be spending it trying to do productive things and positive things. So we'll be doing that. As far as shows, I'm doing a gig tomorrow, which is March 21st. It's not really a gig. I'm officiating a wedding. But if you're in Long Beach tomorrow and you'd like to come see me try some new material out at a wedding and ruin somebody's most important day, hit me up. I'll shoot you the address, and we can laugh about it afterwards together, and that would be a lot of fun. This episode was with a new-ish friend of mine. I would consider him a friend after hanging out with him and doing this podcast, just because I like him. I think he's a good person, funny person, and has a lot of great perspective, I would say. His name is Cory Riojas. Actually, he's got 4 names because he's of Latino heritage, or at least half Latino heritage. And you know how they do. They give you 4 names, like Juan Carlos Gomez Hernandez. They always have like 100 names like that. But he is Cory Riojas. And if you would like to follow him on Instagram, his Instagram name is Hory, Hory, Caney, Caney, no spaces in that. And also follow the show that he runs, which is Laughs in Oceanside. Let me just confirm that. Laughs in Oceanside, all one word. Follow that Instagram as well. He actually put me up on that show, and it was a lot of fun. It's a really cool venue. They have awesome beers. An awesome reggae band was on before the comedy show. So it seems like they do a lot of really cool things. So if you're in the North County and you're looking for something to do, look up Oceanside Brewing Company and see what they got going on. And if they don't have anything going on, show up anyway, because they have cornhole and games and really good beer. And there's an outdoor area that's really pretty, and if it's a beautiful day, it would be a great place to go hang out. I'll let you get to know Cory Riojas a little bit better here. And just real quick, I was listening to it back, and me and him had a conversation about how he had just recently been diagnosed with diabetes and was changing his lifestyle and stuff. And I didn't really get that part on the recording, but we talk about it in the podcast. So just a little bit of reference there. But yeah, without further ado, this is Cory Riojas. Haney. Is that what you go by? Your last name?
Riojas.
Riojas. Okay.
Yeah, so I actually, in school, was Haney all through school because of a feud from my mom and dad.
Oh, shit.
Basically, the way my mom tells it is back in the day, you do your birth certificate in the hospital, but you didn't get your social immediately. You'd, like, go do that later.
Okay.
And it was like, I was born, she handed me to my dad. It's like, what are we going to name him? They named me, handed me back. She's like, you're good. And just told him to kick rocks.
Huh.
And then afterwards, she took his first name. My real name's Cory Antonio Riojas, always has been. And then, but on my social, it was Cory Haney Riojas. And then
okay.
in school, I don't know fucking why, she signed me up as Cory Antonio Haney. Because she kind of assumed later on I would get rid of his name.
She wanted you to be white, dude.
Yeah. She's like, fuck that.
And pull that thing a little closer.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably fine. I normally do it based on what the headphones sound like, so we're just winging it here.
Okay.
And I started, by the way.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
I just hit it. Yeah, I like to, like in the middle of a conversation, I just like to hit it. I don't know. Try and make it natural, you know?
Well, just so everybody knows, we're drinking over at Oceanside Brewing Company right now, trying some of the beers. What do you think of the Jimmy Hoppa?
It's really good. Like
Awesome.
it. Yeah. I got to be careful tonight, actually, because like I've cut back on my drinking a ton, and I went like, I don't know how long. I went a pretty long period of time without drinking. And then last Friday was my buddy's birthday, so we went out and got beers, and I think I had like a total of 4 or 5 drinks. And I was like hungover the whole weekend.
Yeah.
Off just like 4 or 5 beers.
Your body's changing, man.
Yeah, it's weird because I was a pretty regular drinker for a long time, you know, like I could throw them down, but
yeah,
feeling that age and everything kick in.
Dude,
so.
I miss. Okay, so clearly I don't know about you, but I started drinking well before the legal age. I think everybody does.
Yeah, I was a little bit before. I think I got drunk for the first time at like 17.
Oh,
or something.
You held out pretty long.
Yeah. It was, and it was funny because my actually it'd be funny if my parents listen to this because I don't know if they know this, but the first time I got drunk was my stepbrother's dad gave us a case of beer.
All right.
And then I ended up driving, having to get my ex-girlfriend to drive me home. But we got drunk out at like where I'm from. It's like a lot of dairies and stuff. Mm-hmm. So we got drunk at this like farmhouse, and it was raining.
All right.
And I had driven my mom's car. So like in the morning, the whole like the inside of the car, the whole sides, like the doors and everything, was just all covered in mud. And so I had to come up with, I don't remember what story I came up with.
Yeah.
It was just because we were all drunk and couldn't get in the car. And like,
oh, nice.
Yeah.
That's good stuff.
But yeah, my stepbrother's dad gave us the beer that got us drunk for the first time.
You always got to have someone older looking out for you.
Yeah.
That's a little extra older, though.
It was fun. Yeah. And I remember those were my first drunk dials, too. I just started going through all the cute girls on my phone.
Hell yeah.
Hitting them up.
Yeah.
Girls that like I never even talk to, like rarely talk to in real life.
Yeah.
I was just like,
get a little liquid courage in you. Yeah, talk to them.
Yeah.
That was funny. You know, I was never really like very lucky with chicks at a younger age, you know, like middle school, early high school. But what I was the guy that my friends would hand the phone to get the girls to come over. So when we were in high school, you know, and like everybody's lying about where they are and stuff, my friends would be like, come on, like let's hang out, to these chicks, like just being all forward and stuff. Then they'd pass the phone to me. I'm like, hey, what's going on over there? You know, like, what are you girls about, you know? And I'd always just kind of play the like, oh, there's a nice guy, so it's safe or whatever. And then, of course, like, you know, they all...
You got
like,
that nice guy look.
Thank you. Yeah.
I feel safe.
Yeah.
We're in a room alone right now. I feel pretty good about it.
If I grow this little goatee out, this little chihuahua stash that I can grow right here, I look like a total dirtball, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, an aviator
you can kind
stash.
of see you can see the Latino come out a little bit, I think, with the... with the stash.
When I open my trench coat, he's like, "Hola!"
Yeah, that little guy. That's what that is.
You thought it was just a third nipple?
Yeah, no. I thought I saw 2 more nipples. It's his. Yeah.
Oh shit! No, it's I'm not listening to Queer Eye for the Straight Guy. I'm still using plastic hangers. I got shoulder nipples.
Dude, I don't even know. I use plastic hangers. I didn't know that's like a thing.
I don't think it is.
Shoulder
Man.
nipple.
I think it's 30 seconds of TV they needed to fill.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not a fashionista. This is actually second time I've wore this shirt, and I have another shirt that's like 10 years old that looks exactly like it.
Okay.
It's just basically a replacement, I guess. I don't
Nice.
know.
Well, if you rock some khakis, some high socks, and some Converse, you could cholo it out too, and you'd have some Hispanic look.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
I get Asian a lot, especially when I smile.
Okay.
The chinky eyes.
Yeah.
You can't say that anymore.
No, you
Just
definitely
squinty
can. You
eyes.
can't say chink in the armor if you're talking
Yeah.
basketball.
Oh, that's what
but-
it was, man.
Yeah. No, you're
Yeah.
good, man. But I see it too. I get that, and I bet if you like smoked a little joint or something, you'd be like way Asian looking.
Yeah, I do. I don't really like. I don't handle weed well, but when I do smoke it, it's like, yeah.
Yeah. How unwell do you handle weed? Because I've heard of people who straight up, if they smoke even one puff, they like lose bladder control.
Oh no, not that. I mean, like I'm like a one hit it and quit it, but it's not like I'm pissing myself. I just like
All right, just
I sort of shut down.
Keep
socially.
that between the guys, man.
Yeah.
Don't tell the girls that.
yeah. And there's a lot of aspects of my life, yeah. That one hit and quit it, yeah. But I don't know. Are you a weed guy?
I've smoked for a long time. I stopped smoking recently. I don't know. I just all of a sudden just didn't really feel the need for it anymore. But yeah, dude, growing up in high school, it was like me and my friends in his garage or his parents' garage just smoking and stuff. There was always the one parent who's like, I'd rather you do that here than be out in the streets God knows where.
Yeah.
You know, and so like
The cool mom.
Yeah, I'd be like, put your bong away, damn it. We have company. You know? It's like,
yeah, what is that, like Mean Girls mom? Like the one that like comes in and with the, I don't know.
oh, from the movie?
Yeah.
Dude, it's been a minute since I've seen that.
Amy Poehler plays
Oh,
it.
hell yeah.
Yeah. She's like, comes in with the drinks. She's like, non-alcoholic unless you want it. Like,
Yeah.
and then she like totally does the
Oh,
line.
yeah. It's like trying too hard to impress the kids.
Yeah, that mom's real. I've met that mom through like several families. And
Do your
in high
parents
school.
smoke weed? Do anything?
My mom was for a while, but she doesn't anymore. My dad would do it more, but he works a job where he gets tested. He has to get drug tested because he's licensed by the FFA. What is the flight one? FFA?
FAA?
FAA.
Federal
Yeah, FAA.
Aviation Asswads.
Yeah. You get
Something.
it. Yeah, you got it. So he's like totally down and would be into it, but he just can't because he gets tested. So
Yeah.
apparently they don't want stoners building airplane engines. So
Yeah, fair enough, but I don't know. Maybe like I'm one of those people where I actually get too focused sometimes. Like I'm more ADD. Like when I'm like spastic when I'm not high. You know, like I'm sure you'll see it at some point tonight. But whenever I smoke, everything slows down, and I find that I'm able to just really focus on something.
Yeah.
And granted, I'm having weird-ass thoughts about nothing in my head while I'm doing it, but I don't break focus, you know?
yeah, I think some people are like that. And I mean, I don't know. For me, I slow way down too, but it's like I slow too far down.
Mm-hmm.
Like I just like
But
turn, like the brain sort of turns off, you know.
And then your
It's like-
eating speeds up.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Dude.
I do. I did recently purchase like a vape pen that's like, it's like 60-40 CBD to THC,
Okay.
and it's just like a calming, like relax. I think it's called Relax. The pen is called
Okay.
Relax or something, and it's just for like anxiety episodes. I just hit it a couple times and
Yeah.
brings me back down and.
Yeah, you
helps-
got that?
helps
You
me
got the
sleep.
real anxiety shit where you're like fucking stressing?
Oh, dude, it comes on. It's weird. Cause my mom's bipolar. And she didn't find out till like really later in life.
All right.
And then like, sort of just reminiscing on like what the times that I've known her and like how she is now. Like I definitely see some of those qualities in me, where
Okay.
and I feel like I have like a mania that lasts like for anywhere from like weeks to a month, where I'm just like writing jokes, barely sleeping, all this energy.
Yeah.
And then I crash, and it's like, you could like can't even get me out of bed. I'm just like,
Alright, yeah.
you know what I mean? It's like, I mean, I go to work and stuff, but it's
Yeah,
like up
you're
here
not
is like not
yeah.
the same, and I'm like not social and stuff.
Yeah.
So it's like
Dusty dark tunnel.
Yeah. So it's like, and I see it coming on more and more as I'm getting older. So I feel like there's probably gonna be a time where I go and see a professional about it, I manage it now. It's actually a lot of it is diet.
I would. Oh, dude.
And,
yeah.
and beer too, like, or just drinking in general, like like I was talking about that night last Friday. Like Saturday was just an anxiety fest, just like didn't feel good at all, you know.
Yeah.
So. But I think that's I think that's a lot of our generation, just because like how old you're, like
I'm 29.
Late 20s? Okay. Yeah. So we're close to the same age. I'm 33. And so our generation was kind of the first one to really start getting screens in our face all the time.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's a big part of it.
I say this. We're the first generation to fully assimilate to this technology, and we're the last that's going to remember a time without it.
Yeah.
So that's just one thing I always think about. And I'm like, I got a 2.5-year-old right now, and I'm like super strict on his screen time, dude. Like, we'll watch stuff together and whatnot, but like he wants to hold like the phone or the tablet or whatever every time. I'm like, no, buddy, you don't need to. Like, it doesn't need to be that close to you.
Good for you, dude.
You know, and I'm trying to get my mom on it, you know, his grandma and, you know, all that stuff. But dude, everybody sees it as a way to get time for themselves. Like, okay, the kid's good on the screen
in front of them. Yeah.
And dude, when I'm kind of like one of those people that's more harsh on myself than other people might be, and like if I notice myself do that, like, dude, the whole next day, like whenever he goes off with like grandparents or whatever, I'm like, you piece of shit.
Yeah.
You're that guy in Starbucks that you hate.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, it's good. I mean, it's good to check yourself. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. Good that you're doing that for your kid. I think it's I mean, I just like podcasts, but Rogan, like everybody listens to Rogan, I guess, or he's just real popular. But Jonathan Haidt or I don't know how to say his name, was on it talking about screen time and like depression and suicide rates and like teenagers or young adolescents and stuff now. And he was saying that like really they shouldn't have like a social media account until they're about like 16, 17 years old. Especially girls.
Fully, dude.
Yeah.
Do you remember MySpace?
Yeah.
Back in the day of like doing HTML friggin' hacks and stuff.
Yeah.
Your whole page would be blown up, or you go to like a cute chick's page, it's all dialed.
Yeah.
You're like
music playing in the background and stuff. Yeah.
Why don't they have music on social media accounts now?
I don't
That's
know.
like
like copyright rules, or I don't know.
True. I mean, that was in the day of like Napster and LimeWire and but they did have that the website I remember that was connected to was playlist.com. You remember
playlist.com?
Playlist.com?
That's the one that I used. Yeah. It would generate a HTML code or like a code for you to put in your
drop it in, and then all of a sudden you have like your vibe for your page, dude.
Yeah.
They're blowing it. I feel like certain technologies or certain aspects have taken a step back.
Yeah. MySpace was pretty dope. Have you gone to it recently?
No.
It's weird now.
Dude, well,
I mean, it's basically just music stuff now, but it's just, I don't know.
The last time I went on that was probably like 6 years ago. And all I did was I looked at like the chicks I dated back then.
Yeah.
And it was weird because we were all like high school age or whatever the last time I touched MySpace. And I was like, all they have is their high school pictures. This is creepy. I'm getting off here.
Yeah.
I was like, ugh.
Yeah.
Even though it was like me in high school back then.
I know. Do you ever do that, like where you like start thinking about like, I don't know, like the first girl you hooked up with?
Yeah.
And then it's weird because it's like your brain kind of goes back to like being in that time again. But then you're thinking about that girl as she was, right? So isn't that gross now?
Yeah, no, I've totally had thought that before, you know, where it's like I lost my virginity at 15.
That's pretty young.
And, you know, the chick was the same age. So, of course, anytime I think back to that, I'm like, dude, I was fucking too young to be doing that, man. And, like, you know, then I think about it.
And
now
I'm
you're
like 29 thinking about...
But, dude, if I went back in time, I would still be taking high fives. You know, if I was 15 again and I ended up making the same decision, I would be like, yeah, could have done way worse. She was hot.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah, that's true. It's weird. It's weird how we kind of keep our high school selves like sort of buried deep down in there, huh?
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's one reason why I like dreaming. Mm-hmm. You know, is like you can reflect on stuff that you kind of forget about. You know?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if you're a big dreamer or anything like that, but
sometimes it comes in waves.
You remember your dreams?
Not usually. Rarely. Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
you're one of those like lucid guys.
I was hot into that for like a good 9 months to a year, and then shit got way too like, I don't know, like visually intense, and I totally stopped. Like I was reading books and keeping a dream log and all that, and I had this fucked up dream where I was in like this forest made of felt, right? All the
That
trees
sounds
were
dope.
felt. You know, it was like
Yeah.
kind of like one of those big play mat things you might see with like letters and numbers as like a little kid.
Oh yeah.
And it was like that soft, multicolored, bright felt. And I like climb up one of the trees to see how far this goes or if it's like normal or whatever. I knew I was dreaming. And I look and I'm like, oh, what's going on? The whole fucking forest of felt caught on fire and is just rushing to me because that shit's super flammable. And I climb down the freaking down the tree. I'm like, how am I gonna get out of here? This shit's hectic. And a freaking deer on fire, like a doe, like a young doe, comes up on fire, just looking at me in the face, and just burns to death in front of me. And I was like, this lucid dreaming shit's fucked. Like, I'm good. I've got like that, whatever metaphor that was supposed to be. I'm not ready for that, you know?
Dude, that was your diabetes trying to tell you.
Right. Yeah, right. That was the insulin needle creeping.
Yeah. That was your body trying to tell you, hey, man, back off on that.
Right. Yeah, the meats and all the freaking sweets. Yeah, the felt. I mean, maybe it was a gumdrop forest, and I was just interpreting it wrong.
Yeah. You felt it wrong.
Yeah, gumdrop candy
But,
forest.
Yeah.
Ooh, I didn't.
Nah, it's not. It
I was
wasn't
too
good.
slow.
No, we don't. We don't celebrate those ones. Yeah. But it was there.
I still appreciate it. I appreciate bad jokes, and that's one reason why, like, I know I actually love comedy because I'm like, I see what you did there.
Yeah, the cheesy dad jokes, dude. I'm
Oh,
a total
yeah.
like in life. I'm a total. Even on stage, I still do some dad style jokes. I just like them. I don't know.
Well,
They're
here's
goofy.
one thing to talk about is have you ever been out to like open mics and like you see like an older cat, maybe 40s, 50s, 60s or whatever. He starts doing a couple original jokes and like the rest of his stuff is just like known. These are not your jokes. Like you're telling a joke I heard from my dad or my uncle or whatever.
Right.
And I'm like, I don't know. Like it always bugged me. Like,
Yeah.
you know, because like,
Well, it's just not original. I mean, if you're doing an open mic, you should be. That should be reserved for people trying to do original comedy, trying to do comedy. Yeah.
I don't know.
Make comedy. Not
It always
like,
made me feel weird because I saw this one dude. He
Yeah,
did that
yeah.
one joke. This dude walks by on a beach, sees a girl crying, and she's quadriplegic or whatever. And so he's like, "Why are you crying? What's going on?" She's like, "Well, I'm at the beach, and you know, I'm seeing all these guys, but nobody wants to touch me. I've never been kissed or whatever. You know, I'm quadriplegic, so people get away from me." And he's like, "Oh, well, I'll kiss you. I don't mind, you know." And he gives her a kiss. She's like, "Oh, thank you." And she's like, goes back to being all sad. He's like, "What's going on? Like, you're still sad." She's like, "Well, I've never been, you know, like touched down there. You know, I kind of wanted to like get that to happen too." And he's like, "Okay." So he like fingers her or whatever, is all happy and whatever. It finishes up. And then like after that, she's still all sad. And he's like, "Well, what's going on? I mean, you got a kiss and like, you know, I touched you down there. What's going on?" And she's like, "Well, I've never been fucked." And he's like, "Okay." So he picks her up, walks to the water and throws her in and says, "All right, now you're fucked." You know?
Classic.
So, I mean, like, it's a great joke,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
But I've always just felt like, okay, if you're going to an open mic and stuff, like, bring us what you thought up and, like, you know?
Yeah.
Because, like, just telling a joke is just telling a joke, you know, if it's not yours.
Yeah. I guess the one way I would excuse that is if it's a guy who's just like, maybe he's thinking he wants to try it, but he doesn't know if he has the courage to even be on a stage.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
And you maybe do it once or twice, but then you know you got to start writing your own shit at some point. You know?
Yeah.
Like, but yeah, my favorite. I don't know if it's a dad joke, but my favorite just joke in like public, just like joke like that is do you know the difference between a garbanzo bean and a chickpea?
No, what's that?
Never had a garbanzo bean on my face.
Yes.
Yeah.
I like that one.
Yeah, it's so dope.
Yeah, that's a great one.
Yeah, it's a hitter. It gets them usually. Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
There's a lot of great ones, like, and you know that's the funny thing about comedy too is like for the older ones like that, you know, good luck trying to find out who did that joke, you know,
Right.
who wrote that or whatever, you know, because things were passed like communally or like, you know, Tom in the old town wrote it, but Jeff was funnier and fucking everybody credited Jeff for it, you know.
Yeah.
Like what's your deal? At least when you started out, like I remember when I started out. I would like be militant about like going online and looking at like literally typing in everything I wrote for a joke and seeing if it was out there to make sure I'm not biting somebody else's style or like actual like premise or something like that.
Yeah, well,
I mean, do you do that?
I was never that thorough about it. I do, I have, like, um, what's a good, friend? I mean, I feel like, there's been jokes, like, I've come up with a joke, it's worked really well, and then there, like, a Netflix special comes out, and the comedian has, like, a pretty similar premise, and then so I've dropped the joke, even though it's maybe not the same joke. But the way I think now is that there are no original premises. There's almost no original jokes, really.
Yeah.
So I think it's just a matter of, like, if you think of something, as long as you're writing it and telling it, like, as you, then it's fine, you know? Like,
yeah.
it's sometimes it's hard to tell if somebody's, like, ripping people off anymore because there's so much content out there. So, like, if it's not verbatim, then it's pretty hard to tell. But I think what reveals itself is, like, the delivery of it. Like, because everybody is their own person. So if you're telling somebody else's joke, like, and it comes out, like, sometimes you can just spot, like, that's not, like, natural to, like, who you are.
Yeah. I remember.
But it's hard, though.
I remember hearing. I can't remember who it was. I think it was an SNL girl, one of the, like, the big timers from SNL, and she was talking about in the beginning. She tried to write jokes with, like, bigger words than what she's normally used to speaking with because she wanted to sound smart. And dude, I totally did that at first. I was like writing. I don't know. I'm kind of a nerd, so, like, I do just. I don't know. I assume everybody has a high vocabulary, which is not true.
No.
but I definitely did that. I was, like, trying to, like, I was like, that doesn't sound clear enough, or, like, I'm not specific enough. And then I, like, read it back to myself. I'm like, is this a fucking medical journal? Like, no. Like.
Yeah. What I did was I tried really hard to be like a shock comic, kind of.
All right.
Just like I wanted all my stuff to be like almost offensive. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I've kind of like, I don't know, just because that's the kind of stuff that, like, I think is funny is when I'm like, oh, like when it makes me go like, oh shit, like, like that guy's gonna be in trouble for that one. Like, it's like, I don't know. To me, it's funny and sort of exhilarating at the same time.
Well, let me ask you this: how many jokes have you written that you thought were too hard and you never told them? Like, do you have like a compilation of at least like a few that, like, you're like, nah.
Nothing. Well, I guess nothing really that bad. I got told by a lady comedian after a show one time to not do a rape joke anymore. And it was sort of dad jokey too. It was just like the joke was something. Well, I had a Bill Cosby one, and then I followed it with, like, I normally don't do rape jokes, not because I don't think they can't be funny, but because they feel forced.
That's
like,
good. I like that. That's actually a great play on words.
And then and then she came up to me afterwards and she was like, "That was a great set, but you need to drop the rape joke." And I was like, and then so, like,
was it anybody from the club or was it just an audience member?
It was like a fairly, not like a huge name, but a headlining comedian in LA told me that. But I mean, I don't know. I don't even feel like that's that offensive of a joke. You know, it's just the word rape sets off, like, alarms and.
Well, I mean, it's I mean, for anybody who's been a victim of it, it's a horrible trigger word, and then also for people like, you know, friends and family members of victims and what have you, that's of course going to be more sensitive. But then the whole premise of comedy in its origin is to make light of things that are hard to deal with.
Yeah.
You know, and that's one thing that nobody wants to talk about, especially in this, like, super postmodernist, fucking extreme one side or the other kind of situation.
Yeah.
Is like, okay, comics were, like, the only person who could talk shit to the king, you know, jesters in the court, right?
Yeah.
And they were able to say almost anything because it was their job to make light of it, right? And people forget about that, and they don't realize it's like, okay, I have some jokes about my personal life that are, at the time before I wrote them, were extremely painful, you know, and, like, it was not easy to deal with that in my life, and the joke came out as a coping mechanism for me.
Yeah.
Right. And of course, on stage, if somebody came up after the show and asked me, "Oh, where'd you get the inspiration for that?" I like to write jokes. Like, I'm not gonna open up to them.
Right.
But, like, on stage, when it's an act and you're able to perform it out and, like, just do that and make light of it, it's cathartic for people. You know, it's like therapy for them, where they don't have to tell you their problems. We come out, we talk about shit that's messed up, and they're like, I can relate.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, actually, now that you said that, that brought back my memory a little bit. I do have some jokes that I haven't told. About I have a sister that died when I was in high school.
Okay.
And I haven't told them mainly because like I would hate for like my mom to hear them.
Word.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So so I guess I do have that. Not that they're like necessarily offensive to the public, but just I wouldn't like not want to say that and then like have it crush my mom, just for a laugh. So
yeah, I got a couple that like I'm glad that my dad's already passed away. He's had a great sense of humor, and I doubt it, but like I don't know, it's like they're kind of about him not being in my life and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like we might have a good laugh, or it could be like he takes a hit, like a gut shot from it, and I would never know.
Yeah.
So I'd kind of rather not know.
Yeah. Yeah, it's tough. I don't know. It's a tough call because, like you said, the whole point of it is to like make light of a bad situation. So, yeah. But I mean, really, I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings, like that. Like I'm pretty like sensitive to that. Whenever like I'm not a confrontational guy, I'm pretty agreeable for the most part.
Yeah, why'd you beat me up before the podcast?
Because you asked me to.
Yeah, I'm into some weird shit.
Yeah. Yeah. Why were you smiling and
I was too busy coming.
Yeah. No. Yeah. Why were you so erect that whole time?
Yeah, my ass is still red.
Yeah. How long have you been doing comedy?
About 5 years now, I think.
Oh, okay. I think we've probably been doing it around the same time then.
Yeah.
I forget when I started exactly. I know actually the first time I did a mic was in San Diego, even though I was living in LA.
Nice.
I came down for a friend's birthday.
Where was your first one?
Till 2.
Till 2? Okay.
Yeah. I don't think they have a mic anymore, though.
No, I don't think so either. I never went to the comedy mic. I've been there for shows before.
Yeah.
It fucking gets actually loud in there.
Yeah, it is pretty loud in there. The stage setup I thought was pretty cool, though. That little, like, off to the side, like, I don't know. But it was pretty loud because, like, the bar is all like right next to that room, so there's everyone drinking in there, and then you're like, kind of screaming over it. But
yeah, I don't know. I was there for a punk show one time, and it was chill. I hate that nowadays it's unacceptable to pit.
Yeah, I just don't do it because I'm afraid of getting hurt.
Yeah, the last time I pit, I think, was the last time I'll ever pit. I was at some show at the Che. And I was freaking the next day for 2 days. I was fucked up.
Yeah,
I can't push and shove like I could when I was younger.
Yeah. Well, so I work in orthopedics for my day job. So like I'm the guy that puts like a cast on broken bones and stuff.
Okay.
And I think there's been maybe 3 or 4 times that people have come through with like horrible ankle injuries from being in a mosh pit.
Oh.
Like, yeah, it's like, and they're always like sort of. Like when I say older, I mean like in their 30s, They're not like 15-year-olds or whatever.
Just some fluke, and they just couldn't react fast enough anymore. Yeah,
we'll just get their leg caught up under them, and like get pushed or whatever, and then like you're just not athletic anymore when you're. Well, I don't know about you. Look pretty athletic, but I'm not athletic anymore, so.
Yeah, I'm athletic enough. I mean, honestly, but I got to get back on it. I'm like starting to actually do weight training and stuff because I told you about like the diabetes and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
That's just weird. So basically, trying to maintain my body to where it's at least, because it's like now that like we're all like I'm just about to hit 30. You're in your early 30s. Mm-hmm. They say that you're supposed to be essentially the person you're gonna be for the rest of your life by the time you get around 30.
Mm-hmm.
Like your viewpoints were more or less settled in. Like unless something dramatic happens, you're not gonna change too much. And I'm like, dude, I'm kind of like half-assing a lot of stuff here. Like I need to.
Yeah, I don't know how you feel about Jordan Peterson.
Love him. Love that dude. And I hate anybody who thinks that they have him figured out. Because it's like every time somebody's like, I don't like him for this reason. The only one somebody brought up was this girl I was hanging out with for a while. She had said that he was like had a climate change denial issue. Never seen the video, but if that's true, that would be something to be irritated about. But other than that, I mean, he mostly just talks about like, hey, be a mensch, and your life will be better because you're not an asshole.
Yeah, that's why I like him too. I discovered him, I think, like early last year or something, and I legitimately feel like he actually changed my life for the reasons that you were talking about. Like I was half-assing things and like just really, I don't know. And so like when he was on Rogan for the first time and I listened to him.
Yeah, it was a great one.
Just like the whole make your bed thing, like it really was a pretty big inspiration to me, and I feel like I've actually improved a lot because of him. As far as the climate change thing goes, I've seen that video, and he doesn't deny climate change. He says that the I've only watched it one time and it was a while ago, but it was like something along the lines of like the research. There's so many variables in the research that we don't know exactly what's going on. Therefore, we don't really know the right like what the right solution actually is. Mm-hmm. And so the solutions that people are coming up with are like, we don't know what the repercussions of those solutions are going to be either. So that's what he says. I mean, it's not that he denies climate change, but he is definitely, like the way he describes it, he's definitely more on the like right, like the conservative
he's not
views of
sold
it.
That we have it totally pinned.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so it's not that, and I think that's how most conservative, like, well, I think most people are sort of centrist anyway, whether you're on the left or right. So like
the media will not have you believe that.
I know. So
I've always considered myself, just unaffiliated politically, but also I don't know, I guess say like riding the rail of being centrist, but always being more on the conservative side. I just believe that like money is mathematics, and it's actually simple arithmetic no matter how advanced you get, unless you're trying to do projections. So stop blowing it. Like literally, it's like we
take the checkbook away, right?
Yeah, just freaking like I've even thought about like, what if we did like the country as a country did like no spend Wednesdays, and we just like didn't spend money every Wednesday, like the third Wednesday of the month or whatever. Like, how much would we save over the course of a fiscal year? Like I feel like that's something Trump would totally be. It's no spend Wednesday, and then you catch him like buying burgers on his jet, and like eating and drinking.
He probably doesn't even know when he spends money. He's not signing the... No. Someone else is doing it for him. But, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm kind of right there with you. I've always... Well, it's weird because that you say that, like, when you get into your 30s, you sort of settle. Because I do... That's actually what I feel like I'm doing. I'm starting to sort of, like, settle in my groove. And I started out, like, super conservative because I came from a conservative town. And then once I got into college, I went, like, way left. And then I, like... came back, and now I'm sort of like in the middle. And I feel like 5 years ago I would have been considered like left, like more left leaning.
All right.
But just in today's climate, that's not how things are. Because like socially, I'm like gays should get married. Mm-hmm. Cool. Like I don't like war. Mm-hmm. Pro-choice, like all these things. But like, because I believe in capitalism, basically.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, you're not aligned with the left anymore.
Right. Yeah.
Have you seen, there was a Colin Quinn special that was on Netflix, actually, and I don't remember what it was called, but he talks a lot about, like, the founding of the nation and, like, like, how everybody went into a room and, like, figured out what the fuck we're going to do with this country, Mm-hmm. And he was talking about how, like, he hates trying to be identified politically, He's just like you had said. Mm-hmm. He's got all these things that are left, and then he's got all these ideas that are right. And I think there's a lot more people like that, but kind of like back to the Jordan Peterson thing, like the idea of identity politics, where if you're part of a group, that's more important than your individual identity.
Yeah.
If you allow it to be.
Yeah. It's like, the whole like intersectionalist ideas.
That's one thing I haven't gotten yet. I don't know the definition of the whole intersectional thing.
It's basically kind of what you just said. So like, it's where it's all the... So the basic premise is you get like hypothetical points for being oppressed. So like different groups are oppressed, right? So there's like, people of color, like gay people, trans people, and so like it's almost like they're associating points for each of them, and then the intersectional idea is when they come together.
Oh, okay.
When they meet.
Yeah, double and triple whammy.
Yeah. So that's kind of like the idea, and those people are like, they're
the highest status of social order because they're oppressed the most.
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, hey,
but like you said, the like just ignoring all of that and looking at people as individuals, like that's the least racist, least homophobic thing you can do, right? Like,
yeah.
if you could just,
Dude, you know one thing that's weird is like up here in North County, I don't know how much time you spend up here.
none.
Pretty white.
Yeah,
Pretty damn
Yeah, I
white,
assume-
you know. It's
yeah,
like
yeah.
you got your Hispanic pockets here and there, and like if you go to any public school, of course, it's actually pretty balanced between like Hispanic and white. There's not a lot of black people around here, and it's like to the point where I've been so inexperienced in racism that it took me a while to like hear stories of people who have experienced real racism, like from the South and the East Coast and stuff like that. And like I'm on the total opposite side of the spectrum. Like I've seen so few black people in North County that like if I'm walking down the street and I see like people who are comfortable and they're walking around and they're black, you know, I'm like, fuck yeah, like yeah, we got some black people here, like finally, you know, like I'm like pumped that they're like they look like they're living here and comfortable and around here. It's like finally like a little bit of diversity.
Yeah,
like
that's
holy
cool.
shit, you know. Like
That's cool. I like that.
Yeah.
The town I grew up in, actually, in the somebody just posted on like Facebook a day or two ago some history and articles from like the 1930s, and the Ku Klux Klan was like super prominent in my hometown.
Oh damn.
And, like to the point where I think it was in the 80s actually, the head state Klansman, so California state head Klansman, moved to our hometown and called it like home.
Okay.
Although in the 80s there was a ton of protests by then, so like we actually had a lot of people in the town protesting
Yeah.
the fact that he was there. But it's an interesting thought because I never really thought about it until I was kind of out of high school and stuff. I didn't really see any black people at all until I was basically like junior high school. There was like a few that did move into town, but it was never like when I saw them, it wasn't like, ooh, black people. It was just like, oh, like, because when you're a kid, it's just like,
yeah.
oh, he's
Unless
darker
your
than
parents
me.
are crazy racist and push that shit on you.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, that's
But
weird.
like I've never really felt, even when I was like super right, you know, I never got so far to where I was like white supremacy white or anything like that. And that's just like, I don't know, it's weird because like when I look at somebody, like I'll acknowledge what they look like and like superficially, but it's just totally based on like out of my three closest friends, like one's half Mexican, half Filipino, one's full Filipino, and then one's half white, half Native American, or half white, quarter Native American, quarter Mexican. That might even be wrong. I don't know. Something like that. Lesbian.
Okay.
So it's like, but like, I always like, so sometimes I lean on that as like validation for like super progressive, like far left people.
All right.
And I hate that I have to do that because when it's like with them, it's just like the person, right? Like that's, I don't want to say their names, but like that, like one of them is my roommate. It's like, that's my roommate. You know, it's like, it doesn't register that like, we're like to us.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Well, anytime you spend time with somebody and you actually get to know them and their viewpoints and stuff, and then also you got to consider like a lot of times, like some of the viewpoint differences that you might have with somebody have no bearing on anything. Like either it's a viewpoint that will never get legislation passed on it, so they're just burning their own freaking tires. You know, they're not doing anything.
Yeah.
You know, or it's like so what's the word? Like it doesn't matter. You know, like it's just one of those things. Like
it's like inconsequential.
yes,
Look
thank
at me
you.
being smart.
Yeah, you got it, man. But yeah, no, it's like I don't know. Like I'm just like you. Like in the way I see somebody, and I'm like, okay, they're a person first. And they're also a blank slate. Unless, of course, they have, like, you know, outside cues where they don't look well-to-do. They look dirty. They look like they might have a predatory eye, you know, or something like that.
Yeah.
You know, there's things... And that's another thing that's one reason why I just don't like anybody who's in, like, ideologue. Like, anybody who is, like, my idea...
It's the new religion.
Dude, yeah. And there's a lot of people that are, like... I mean, hey, I'm not for religion by any means, but I would rather have somebody wish that there was a kingdom in the sky that they went to after they're dead than they need to basically fight against an imaginary pressure, you know? Like, So I don't know. We live in a funny ass time, dude. Like I remember,
Yeah, golden age for comedy, though. Really.
yeah. And
I mean,
it's
like, as much as people say that, like, you can't joke about this or you can't joke about that anymore. It's like, well, you can. It just makes you an edgy comic now.
and you got to know your environment too.
Yeah.
Honestly, like I mean, a lot of my jokes are like zing pow, you know, like it's just like, hey, you know, I said something like I have a boyish face and I said something dirty and you didn't expect it, you know,
Yeah.
or like tongue in cheek, whatever,
Yeah.
you know, and in the wrong environment, like I dislike bar shows. Like I just like, you know, if they
fucking rough.
if they turn it into a venue, like so for instance we rent chairs for this in the brewery and we set out a different environment, we change the house lights and whatnot, but like, you know, if you go to just a regular bar where it's just like nothing was fucking changed and we happen to have a stage here and we're not even going to coerce people to pay attention, it's just like you're here, do your thing, it's like nobody's paying attention to you until you say that one thing, and then that irate person in the back will be like, hey,
Yeah.
hey, I identify with that, you know?
Good impression of that person, yeah.
Thank you.
Well done, sir.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, dude, I did this friggin' bar show. It was like after the show, I was like, man, I don't think I'm gonna. Well, it's tough to say because like I don't really get like offered a lot of gigs. Thank you, by the way, for tonight.
Pleasure to have you.
Even though I had asked you for it, but I think that night at the comedy contest, you told me you would put me up, so
Yeah, no, definitely.
I felt comfortable asking. But I did this bar show, and it was like there was 5 patrons in the bar. 3 of them were playing pool. One of the guys playing pool had like sunglasses on, but one of the lenses was knocked out. He had like 4 teeth, maybe.
Ooh.
Dude, it was like the roughest fucking thing. Like I burned through. I think at the time I had maybe 10 minutes of material or something, and I was supposed to just do 5, and I burned through all 10 minutes like in 4 minutes.
Oh shit! You're like just like blah, 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 blah,
Yeah, just because like nobody's listening, so you're just like you know, joke after joke. There's no pauses, you know, because it's just like you're not engaging anyone and making eye contact and like having a conversation. So you're just like burning through your shit. Oh, it was so awful.
Okay, I believe in time travel, and here's why. Because there is a huge discrepancy in the amount of time it takes after a joke in between your next joke if there's no laugh break. And
Right.
if there's a laugh, you're like, oh, okay, wow, that was quick, on to my next joke, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if there's no laugh break, it's like, you know, like you can't get to your next joke fast enough.
Yeah,
You know, you're like,
yeah.
I gotta get something out of these fucks.
Yeah, those really long pauses are pretty rough. I do like a little bit of a pause though. Like even if like a joke doesn't hit, I still kind of like a beat or two. Like,
Do you have any jokes that aren't winners but you keep doing them?
I don't know. I feel like I have to, because like most of the jokes that I keep it's because I like them. I don't necessarily do them just because they do
hit.
well. You know, it's like if it made me laugh, like I'm at least gonna keep it for a while, and like maybe I'll try and like reword it and get it to work. So I don't know. I must have them. You have stuff like that,
Dude, yeah, I got one it's really, because you reminded me when you said you like a little bit of a pause. I have this one joke that's not great, but every time I do it, it's like it does not hit, and then there's one person like dying, like just like falling
dude, that's
out.
almost better.
Yeah, dude. Like I was
better.
down.
I would rather have that than everybody in the room laughing except for one person. I would rather have everyone quiet except for one person laughing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because
Dude,
that one
it's so
person not
funny.
laughing is gonna like bug the shit out of you.
Yeah.
But like I don't know, there's something about that, like nobody's laughing, but you got that one guy, so it's just like,
Yeah.
all right, I feel good about that.
You ever get really weird laughers? You know, like somebody in the audience has a weird laugh and it like fucks you up because you're like, what is
Oh, I haven't
that?
been fucked up by it, but yeah, I've paid attention to some weird laughs. There.
Yeah.
Like especially like the higher the pitch, the more they stand out. You know, like
Yeah.
like
Yeah,
like that.
or they're off timing, like it takes an extra half second for them to get it or something.
Oh yeah,
and they're
yeah.
like, like it's like, what was that? What was
Yeah, like you're like halfway through your next
Yeah.
setup, and then they start laughing, and then you're like,
Yeah, I gotta cut down on the wordplay jokes. This guy doesn't get it.
Yeah. Welcome back, sir. Yeah.
Yeah. Have you done the House of Bites show that Clint and freaking Cheeky Mick, what's that guy's name? I
I'm
don't
not
know.
sure.
But they have this spot down south, this place called the House of Bites, and there was one of those ladies there where like she just had this like grating laugh. Like it was like she was auditioning for the sequel to Hocus Pocus or something. It was ridiculous, dude. I could not like
a witch laugh.
yeah, it was just I couldn't even like redo it because I mean she's a rather different shaped woman than I am. I'm like a beanpole and she was more like a beach ball.
Yeah.
And it was just ridiculous, dude. Like I wish I could like find her and like plant her at like Comics I Know show just to fuck with them.
Yeah.
And be like, deal with this.
That would be pretty funny,
Yeah.
actually. You ever, I never got really into it, but the last Comic Standing,
Yeah, I like the first
heckle
couple
portion
seasons.
of it, I thought
Yeah.
that was kind of cool.
That would be fun,
comics
yeah.
heckling like other comics, but I don't know, how do you feel about hecklers, actually?
I normally just talk over them. A lot of times, like I'll try to find something, something to say, just a quick like zing back or whatever, and just move on.
Yeah.
But I've been pretty fortunate where I think I've only ever had any sort of like shout out or callback like 3 times out of like all the actual shows I've ever done. And then of course at an open mic, who cares,
Yeah.
But yeah, dude, I don't know. It's like really easy for me just to talk over them.
Yeah.
I've never really had an issue. I mean, of course, when I get up to the point of actually like going out to different areas and like, doing the road or whatever, I'm sure I'll have to figure that shit out. But
Yeah.
right now it's a little safe. San Diego's a very open audience, like we have very open-minded people out here. So I've never like
Pretty diverse group of people.
well, I've
really,
seen some guys say stuff that I could see myself saying, like, oh,
Yeah.
it's a Trump comment, or oh, it's something about Obama or whatever, and then people
Yeah.
are like, ah! And they just
Yeah.
fucking lose it, and it's
Yeah.
like, do you really care that much? Like,
Yeah, well, people fucking do.
yeah,
I don't know. I like a little bit of light heckling when it's like warranted, like when it's a good place for it.
Yeah.
And it's like well-meaning. You know what I mean? Like
yeah,
the guys that are just screaming out or ladies because they want the attention.
Yeah.
That's when it really gets to me. I like screamed at a guy to like I yelled at him to shut the fuck up. And I like described what he was wearing and like where he was sitting, and I was like, fuck this guy
Yeah.
at a show. And I like in hindsight it was like I never even, well, actually I guess in my defense he did heckle like 2 comics before me.
yeah,
And then when I came up my very first joke in the setup, he screamed out like super loud, interrupted me, and then that I just blew up on him.
yeah.
Hindsight, I could have probably tried to like bring him in a little bit, get him to realize what he's doing, and then like
Yeah, but then again,
Yeah.
like, how much faith do you have in yourself, because that could have
Yeah.
been an intuitive thing where you're like, fuck this guy, talking to him's not going to work,
Yeah, that's true.
And so
yeah,
that's
he did just freaking interrupt me like
Yeah.
in the middle of like I was getting to my punchline. It ruined the joke. Like I couldn't have finished the joke because of what he did.
Yeah.
And it just like set me off, So
I'm all for like the proper like tongue lashing for a heckler.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, if you're skilled enough in the moment and it seems right or whatever, you can pull out something out of your ass to like make them the butt of the joke.
Yeah.
And then usually like they can shut up or whatever. But I don't know. Like what is it? Damn, who's that guy on YouTube? Do you? It's like Steve Hofstetter.
Hofstetter.
Yeah,
He's really good at it. Yeah.
Definitely, that's like his niche on YouTube.
Yeah. Well, sometimes I almost think that he writes jokes that are gonna get a response after the setup, specifically because like his punchline is set up to like be a comeback for a heckler. Like he explains it with this one joke he does about like ordering a pizza is easier than having kids.
Mm-hmm.
And I forget what the punchline was exactly, but afterwards he said that he was like, all I did was like tell the woman what my punchline was going to be, and it was like I owned her as a heckler. So, but like
Nice.
when you listen to those jokes though, that's almost what it is, because they're pretty like a lot of times they're not like overly provocative, but they're provocative enough to where like you could see a heckler jumping in,
Yeah.
and then it's not like he necessarily ever goes to the punchline. It's like he just handles the heckler.
Yeah,
You know what I
I've
mean?
seen that, and it's like
Yeah.
so impressive just to see
Yeah.
somebody who genuinely does not lose their cool under any circumstance.
Uh-huh.
I have so much respect for that.
Yeah,
because I
yeah,
mean,
that's
I've
pretty cool.
I don't know, like I've done shit where I've made myself lose my cool, where I'm like, God
Yeah.
damn it, why can't I speak? You know?
Yeah. I've done. I did that actually on stage. One of the few times. Do we need to wrap up soon or?
Yeah. You mind if I plug the brewery and the show real quick?
Yeah.
So my personal Instagram is at Cory Riojas. And the show that we're doing tonight is at Laughs in Oceanside. It's been going on for a year and a couple months now, and we do that here at Oceanside Brewing Company in Oceanside, California. It's a really good brewery. Worked here for a couple years, so I'm familiar with a lot of the beers. I've tried 50 different styles of beers coming out of here, and I haven't had one that they've made that they dropped the ball on. This is
Nice.
one of those places where it's like the tortoise and the hare. They just really put a lot of love into their stuff. I've known both the owners and the brewers since I was like 15. And it's just a really awesome vibe. I mean, we're out here in the industrial park like a lot of places, so we're kind of hidden.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a good vibe. Like, I don't know if
it's a
people
dope
can
place, yeah.
can hear the reggae in the background and whatnot, but
They can. I can see it.
Okay, yeah. We got a reggae show that just happened, and we're just jamming some stuff in the speakers. But at Laughs in Oceanside, I'm at Cory Riojas, and the place is at Oceanside Brewing Company.
Perfect. And that's it. That's the end of the episode there. I hope you guys liked it. Corey's an awesome guy. Check him out. Check out Oceanside Brewing Company and Laughs in Oceanside. And per usual, if you guys want to be on the podcast or if you have questions or some ideas for the podcast, please reach out to me. DustyTunnel.com. Hit the contact part of the page there and shoot me a message, or find me on social media and hit me up there. As always, it's a pleasure to have you guys listening, and I love you. Bye.